What if Conor McGregor never boxed Floyd Mayweather? So to set up some context for what's going to happen in this canon, he did go on and beat Jose Aldo, and he also moved up to 155 to face Eddie Alvarez, where he beat him as well. He is the first champ. All that happened, but this is where the new story begins. Instead of going and facing Floyd Mayweather and having his notorious downfall, he actually locked in and would try to be the GOAT of MMA. To do that, he would have to defend his titles, both of them. So coming off of his historic 155 World Championship fight, he would decide to move back down to 145 to give Jose Aldo the rematch that he deserved. That was set, and this fight was a little bit different than the last one, but ultimately ended with the same result. Instead of rushing in at the opening bell and getting slept, Jose Aldo was more tentative and respectful of Conor's power. But Conor had anticipated this and worked his game plan to bait counters from Jose Aldo, where he would then counter his counters and punish Jose. While the finish wouldn't come early in the first couple rounds, the fight ultimately ended in the middle of the fight, third or fourth round, by TKO. Conor has now defended his 145 title, and he felt good. Now he was a legitimate champion at 145, but as one half of the story, he had to do the same thing at 155 now. Who would be the individual standing across from him for his first title of the lightweight? None other than Tony El Cucuy Ferguson. This fight was quite fun in the build-up, with both fighters bringing out funny quotes, one-liners, and just making the press conference enjoyable. But then the night of the fight came, and this turned out to be an all-out war. Tony came out with his smothering, pressure-heavy style, swinging from the opening bell, and started backing up Conor. Conor began to see some openings and began tagging Tony here and there. This didn't do too much to deter Tony, and he began to go for some takedowns. Surprisingly though, Conor was doing an exceptional job of stuffing takedowns and getting out of bad positions in the fight. He had learned a great deal from his loss to Nate Diaz on how to better manage his stamina, and he grinded out a decision against Tony where he just had, frankly, the better shots. Now, after these two fights, he has successfully defended both of his titles at featherweight and lightweight and was a legitimate champion in the eyes of everyone. But the cut to 145 began to look and feel horrible for Conor. So he decided he was going to get one more fight at 145, then vacate the belt. Who would be his last defense of the 145 belt? None other than a certain Hawaiian BMF, Jerome Max Holloway. Max had just come off of the beatdown of Jose Aldo to become the rightful number one contender. He was riding a long win streak and was ready for his rematch with Conor McGregor. This one was going to be a striker's delight. Who had grown more since their first fight? The night of the fight comes along and the energy is immense. The first bell rings and Max marches forward and brings it to Conor. His tactic was to march forward and suffocate Conor, and he begins to do so with the crowd going crazy. In the chaos, he stumbled Conor by catching him on a punch when he wasn't ready for it, and the Hawaiian native was on fire. Conor is not liking how the fight is going and begins to change his approach to punish Max every time he enters range. By doing this, he managed to stay on the outside and keep Max at the end of his punches. By going about the fight this way, he managed to drag out another decision where he ultimately wins. This fight showed that Conor was getting too drained from the weight cut and he was lacking that signature finishing power, and fans began to lose interest as he was getting no finishes in his last two fights. Conor tosses up to him having to keep his weight low to manage two divisional weight cuts, and he was going to return to his healthy weight and bring back his original fire. He was officially done with 145 and set his future on 155. But There was a certain eagle circling him on his return, but he would have to wait for his chance to strike at the Irishman. In a similar tactic pulled for Sean O'Malley, the UFC let Conor avoid his number one contender to actually fight a more exciting fighter. This would be none other than Dustin the Diamond Poirier. The big selling point to this fight was same match, new weight, but for the gold. Dustin was coming off a big win where he slept Tony Ferguson. Sorry, Tony. He was riding an amazing win streak with great names on it. Dustin was determined to get his get back. Still aching at the way their first fight went, he wanted to change the outcome this time. His notable quotes and catchphrases he had at his press conference and media appearances were something along the lines of, "I'm bigger, I'm stronger, I'm coming to knock him out this time." On the other side though, Conor was uncharacteristically quiet in the build-up. A man of few words. What were those words exactly? Stay tuned. The night of the fight came and the lightweight world championship was on the line. The time had come to see why Conor was so focused and quiet. The first round started and both men met in the middle. The feel-out process was quite extensive. Both men popping out their jabs, trying to gauge reaction from the other one. Dustin began to let his hands go, throwing his 1-2, then trying to switch stances to land something with his power right hand. It nearly catches Conor, but he slips it in time. But this gave Conor an idea. He wanted to bait that counter out of Dustin for an opportunity to counter him and send him down hard. So he started pumping out his jabs, getting the distance just right to try to get Dustin to throw. And Dustin threw his combo just like he wanted to. And when he found his moment, he threw his left hand with all the power and knocked out Dustin Poirier for the second time. This made the arena go quiet for a second, everyone in awe. Then the arena grew in cheers. Joe Rogan, DC, John Anik were stunned. "Conor McGregor does it again," says Joe Rogan. In the middle of all the chaos, one soul remains unfazed. Khabib Nurmagomedov. In the post-fight interview, Joe Rogan asked him how he set up that shot. And Conor explained how he wanted to catch him in the middle of one of his stance switches. And then he told Joe, "You know, Joe, they say lightning doesn't strike twice, but I have shocked everyone yet again." Then the UFC cuts the camera to Khabib. He's in the crowd. Joe comes to Conor and tells him that Khabib is next in line for the title. And Conor, a bit hesitant, says, "Well, bring it on." In the back, Khabib began giving his view on the potential matchup. "Brother, today I supposed to be champion. They steal my opportunity. Dana told me I'm next. I'll go home, train, and I will smash your boy. He has no wrestling, zero grappling. I'm going to drown him." The build-up to this fight would not reach such levels of animosity and hate as the last one, or at least the one in real life, but it was still a massive fight. Everyone knew this was Conor's biggest test ever. Khabib had never lost a fight and was dominating his opponents. Could Conor be the one to overcome this obstacle? Time will tell. For now, both went home and trained, for they knew this was the most important match of their career. Flash forward to the night of the fight. Both fighters made weight. They both made the walk. Enough talk, time to walk the walk. In the beginning, the fight plays out similarly to the one in real life. Khabib shoots from the center of the octagon, and Conor does a pretty good job of stuffing those takedowns. And then he begins to have some success on the feet, where he even starts landing a lot of combos on Khabib, but the bell halts any more success for him. The next round starts, and Khabib begins to chain his takedowns against the fence, where he has his best success. There, he finally gets his good takedown and good position on Conor, and does well, as he likes to say, "Smash your boy." Conor gets pretty beat up this round, but he survives as he heals the bell. Round 4 has some of the more of the same. Conor gets taken down by Khabib, and Khabib starts smashing him. Conor, getting desperate and trying to get out of the position, falls into a submission of a Kimura to Khabib, and well, now wanting to break his arm, taps. It's all come crashing down. Heartbroken, he announces on the mic that he will be taking a step away for a while. It's at this point where he wants to reevaluate himself. He has made so much money that he didn't really need to keep fighting. He wanted to enjoy some of the fruits of his labor and took a couple years to be with his family. In his time away, Khabib had his title reign and he also retired. This was disappointing to Conor. He really wanted to get that one back. And well, if he couldn't have Khabib, he wanted to come back one more time and try to win the belt that he lost all that time ago. Around this time, there was a certain Bellator tick that was getting geared for the title. Before anyone says anything, yeah, Charles Oliveira is there, but I honestly believe that the UFC would take away his title shot to give it to Conor. You know, that's just how they are. So we'll just roll with it. So the fight between Michael Chandler and Conor McGregor was made for the vacant 155 World Championship title. When Conor returned, we saw a nice Conor. Just like the one in the real life build up to the Cowboy fight and the Dustin Poirier 2 fight. He was really respectful, but what he was about to do to Michael Chandler was anything but respectful. The time away allowed him to heal from any prior injuries and was just working on the traits that made him the 145 champion all those years ago. His speed and his accuracy. A good return to form. The fight comes and the first bell starts. Michael Chandler marches forward and begins to throw punches at Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor also gets in there throwing some punches, but then he sees how linear Michael Chandler is and begins to slip all of his punches. He begins to feel himself and starts taunting him by putting his hands behind his back. Now, instead of slipping the shots, he begins to cut angles and begins to punish Michael Chandler every time he missed. He broke Michael Chandler in that first round and finished him by TKO. Conor was now the 2-time champion at 155. In his post-fight interview, they discussed how perfect of a fight he had fought, very similarly to the same one he fought when he first won the belt at 155 against Eddie Alvarez all those years ago. Conor was happy, smiling, taking in all the moment. After looking at his belt, then looking at his family, he told Joe, "I think this is gonna be it for me, Joe. I've done it all, I've won it all. I got that gold belt around my waist. My mother has the big mansion. My girlfriend has a different car for every day of the week. My kids are gonna have everything they ever want. It all paid off." That post-fight interview was similar to the one he gave back when he was on his grind in the first place, discussing why he was training so hard. And after all that time, all this hard work, everything he put into it paid off. He then announced to the world that he was done for good. He retired on top and put himself in the list of some of the best ever. A true legend. Well, that does it for this What If. What do you guys think? By all means, give me your opinions down in the comments below. I had a lot of fun making this. It's something new. I just want to change up the content, have fun. If you guys made it this far, I greatly appreciate it. If you guys could subscribe, give me a like. Sorry if like some of my UFC like gameplay things are in gray, kind of. It was a format error. I'll fix it for the next one. But until next time, peace.